It's Halloween 2025 and Christians are still keeping Halloween. Does that surprise anyone else? Before Halloween became what people think is harmless, it was holy and horrific. A night of blood, fire, and death. This was not a night of fun. It was a ritualized interaction with the dead, combining honor, fear, and divination as people sought protection and knowledge before winter's darkness. Samhain is actually the Celtic festival of the dead. It was the New Year festival of the ancient Celts, beginning at sunset on October 31st and ending at sunset on November 1st, the midpoint between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. The Druids are the occult priesthood of the Celts, and they performed rituals at sacred groves and stone circles, invoking spirits and gods, and Druids would go house to house during Samhain or Halloween, requesting food, livestock, or other offerings. If the home complied, they'd bless or pass it by. That's where you get the trick or treat type of thing. If not, they could curse the home, mark it for misfortune, or in the darkest accounts, they would take a person for the sacrifice. This offering or curse type of system is considered by some to be the origin of modern trick-or-treat. This is why people would offer candy, pumpkins, or try to use scare tactics like carved pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns to try to ward off misfortune. Sometimes they used human remains, but they would read omens through animal entrails and have dreams, and fire they used for divination. Their bonfires were massive fires where bones of sacrificed animals and perhaps humans were burned. They believe that unless they offer human lives for human lives, the will of the gods cannot be appeased. While some modern neo-pagans whitewash the Druids, early sources consistently describe them as sorcerers, sacrificers, and necromancers, dangerous intermediaries between men and demons. Samhain marked a liminal time when the barrier between the physical world and the spirit realm was believed to be the thinnest. Due to this, people believed spirits of the dead and other worldly beings could roam the earth. Bonfires were lit to invoke or appease these spirits, including deities of death and chaos. The fires also served as purification and protection, using parts of the year's harvest or animals as offerings. In the Wiccan and neo-pagan cultures, Samhain is considered the most sacred Sabbath on the wheel of the year. It's believed to be a powerful time for casting spells, necromancy, and communication with the dead. Rituals often invoke chanting and channeling spirits, performing sex magic, or invoking the horned god, Cernunnos, a masculine forest deity who is eerily similar to Baphomet, the satanic goat god, or Pan. Samhain is treated in occult circles as a ritual gateway for spiritual contact, especially with the dead or demonic entities. When the Roman Church couldn't stamp out Samhain, they absorbed it and rebranded it. In 731 AD, Pope Gregory III moved All Saints' Day to November 1st to coincide with Samhain, baptizing paganism. October 31st became All Hallows' Eve, eventually shortened to Halloween. All Souls' Day, which was November 2nd, followed that, allowing prayers for the dead on that day. Thus, instead of cleansing pagan practices from what was going to be called the Christian Church, instead married death veneration and ancestor worship with false Christian tradition. October 31st in Luciferian rituals is quite the high day. Within the Church of Satan, the Temple of Set, and underground Luciferians, they often mark October 31st as a major occult holiday. Why? Because the alignment with astrological midpoints or cross-quarter days. Power of mass ritual is what they believe during those times, where the world unknowingly practices and participates in death, fear, and mockery of holiness. Many real satanic rituals happen during the week leading up to and following Halloween, including animal and sexual sacrifices, blood rituals, symbolic mockery of Jesus Christ, curses and hexes cast during the thinning of the veil, and many ex-occultists such as John Ramirez and William Schnoebelen testify that Halloween is one of the most powerful satanic times of the year, when curses are released into homes that open their doors to it. Did you hear that? While the Bible never uses the name Halloween or Samhain, it speaks bluntly to the spirit behind it: death veneration, spirit contact, fear, blood sacrifices, and dark ritual. God strictly forbids these practices, not because they are meaningless, but because they are real and spiritually dangerous. Samhain glorifies what Christ came to conquer: death, fear, and the powers of darkness. Halloween may wear a costume of fun, but underneath, it mirrors the ancient systems of Babylon, systems built on deception, sacrifice, and spiritual rebellion. Do not practice divination or seek omens. Leviticus 19:26 says, "There shall not be found among you anyone who practices divination, tells fortunes, interprets omens, or is a sorcerer. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord," Deuteronomy 18:10-12 says. Also from Revelation 21:8, which says, "As for murderers, the sexually immoral, sorcerers, their portion will be in the lake that burns with fire and sulfur." Law enforcement today actually has many awareness guides which they pass out and train people with. Some of them have titles like this: Occult Investigation Manual for Law Enforcement. They teach officers how to recognize ritual indicators at crime scenes: altars, symbols, animal mutilations, body pieces, candles, and sigils. They distinguish symbolism versus practical motives, such as thrill killing, sexual gratification, and revenge. It also helps them understand what they call calendar clustering: Halloween, solstices, equinoxes, because offenders sometimes imitate these dates. Is that a coincidence? Not at all. Each stresses belief in a ritual motive, but tells us that if there is belief in the ritual motive, it does not equal proof of organized Satanism. Instead, investigators are told to document the symbolism and treat it as context, not the sole cause. Across these files, the same pattern repeats itself, mixing sex, power, and occult imagery, such as robes, candles, inscriptions, occasionally on a Halloween week, is what they state, but more often than not, it is always during the Halloween week. They range from animal mutilation cases and desecration of churches or cemeteries to rare murders where the offender claimed was a sacrifice. Courts generally treat these as homicide or sexual assault cases, noting the ritual theme but not labeling them satanic networks. So yes, police recognize that ritual or occult-style crimes do occur, that they often cluster around Halloween season, and that investigators maintain reference guides precisely for these cases. One cannot make what is evil good and call good evil. Yet this is what it has done, including rites of Moloch and Canaan and the Celts of Druid groves. You've seen the truth, now you're accountable for it. The veil has now been lifted. What you do next determines whether you stand with light and God or slip back into darkness.